Right. Where's this goddamn core temp? It's not even that much better with the CPU on full. Just a couple of degrees. That's disappointing. It's really disappointing. I mean, I could try and load the CPU a bit differently. Has the cooler come loose or some crap? I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I mean, according to the BIOS, the CPU fan is now on full, so case fan is on as well. It's about all I can do. Unless I blow a desk fan at it. Let's reduce the CPU load. That's about all I can do. Change my encoder settings. AIO. Do I look like someone who owns an AIO? Yeah, let me actually just take the side cover off and point a fan at it, see what happens. Maybe I should start a run first. You know, to keep you entertained. Here we go. Is it working? 78, 77. Yeah, the tower is just saturated. What is going on there? It's on auto vCore. What the hell is going on there? 76. Yeah, okay, there's something happening here now. Ah, God. What a disaster. 74. Yeah, I touched this is a Noctua, like $100 Noctua tower, and it's just not coping. There's just I could feel that when I took the side cover off that there was just stagnant air inside the case. Maybe, to be honest, maybe it was even like the GPU overheating or something. But now we're back up to 80. Seems overall to be doing a little bit better though. Wow, I didn't. What's ambient today? I didn't really think that it was such a hot day. 27 degrees outside. All right. Well, I'll keep monitoring it. So we're seeing a little bit of artifacting. This is now 1075. Yeah, which is even stranger. Has the pace degraded, or I was going to swap CPUs anyway, but maybe I haven't really updated the BIOS recently, so it's not like the auto volts in the BIOS are much worse or something. But But I mean, I can be, since it's at stock. Maybe I can also change power plan to some like balanced or something. Let's see what it's reporting. It's reporting 3.7 GPU clock, CPU clocks. It's already unbalanced. Let's try this other balanced one, where whatever the hell that is. Time for nature. But I think I've done just enough. So nature is the test that's the hardest on the GPU in general. So oftentimes you do get a late nature fail, because obviously in between the GTs, you know, the card gets to cool down a little bit and de-stress a little bit. So towards the end of the hardest test is where you'll typically see fails. I mean, I could probably just raise the... See, here we go. This is the heaviest artifacting on at the like 1 minute mark. 46.9. Yeah, we're really not seeing very much scaling from memory anymore. Let me just grab a quick screen grab. I didn't really even apply vCore, did I? This monitoring function in an ATI tool isn't the most reliable, it seems. Okay, let's go 850. Yeah, 70 degrees on the streaming rig. Yeah, I think I'll maybe just put liquid metal under there or something. Ah, it's a shame, guys. My last stream also had 3 crashes, I think, so going for a sad record here. Yeah, pace degraded in a big way. Almost sort of afraid to open the browser on my streamer in case it causes extra load. Oh, I just have really cheap Chinese H510 or something it's called, I think. which, considering how big the IHS is and everything, should be alright. So we're now at 840. So let's see what's a good target. We are already in this kind of range. Maybe we can beat like Q56 Monster. One of these kind of guys. Oh, an Aussie overclocker, I don't know. Guy Dean. Dice. That'd be kind of sweet, beating Dice. Yeah, I'll probably have to put Cryo or something under here. Cryo, or maybe even Gelid. It's an old driver, and actually this is invalid because it doesn't show the details. So let's go a little bit lower, like face 411. Might be worth testing this bench on Win 7 as well. Let's see. Yeah, this guy has the same monitoring issue I do, where it only shows the 2D clocks, 510. Okay, where's the subtests? Okay, we have an extremely late fail. Well, halfway through nature. Chiller seems happy-ish. Maybe give it just a little bit more V-core. We didn't see much scaling from memory, so I'll actually just drop memory down a bit. $840 and $1,044. Let's go 1.3, and that's probably going to be the end of it. In terms of voltage. I can't believe I'm using the desk fan method. Reminds me of this. Hopefully I can Google it. Wasn't there a Celeron 300A that went to a gigahertz? Where is it? Yeah, this one. Oh. I think this is the thread, but these links seem dead. Time's still looking okay-ish. Maybe there's something on the bot. Is it Mendocino? I think that's the one. No, it's the slot one. Funny how it's not finding that. Hold on. Under processors. Athlon XP, of course that's worth benching. Everything's worth benching, with very few exceptions. Slot 1. Sell around 300. Maybe I'm misremembering this. Anyway. Let's see how close we can get to this result. We're now on GT3. GT4. Need to apply LOD first, next run if this passes. And here's our artifacting. So it crashed around the 27-second mark, and now we're 50 seconds in, so it's looking good. $47,700. That doesn't even seem particularly faster than what we already had here. Okay, 46.9 was the last one. Okay. Quick grab. And then it's claiming lot is already 3. Let's try quick load. No, didn't apply. Let's restart the bench. Sometimes helps, sometimes not. Still not applied. Okay, let's go overclock the core a little bit more then. Oh, do you have an ultrasonic cleaner? Keep? Or just a washing dishwasher? Actually, I think Riva Tuner has ATI tool has a LOD setting as well. That's worth trying. It just varies driver to driver. Yeah, $500 is quite an investment, and they're quite bulky as well. I mean, it's like having an extra appliance in your house. Is your lightning still screwed? Keep? So GT3 now. So like I was saying earlier, this 8700K came from Carta. It's not been colder than single stage, but by comparing single stage results to a previous chip he had, Carta told me it should do 6.7, 6.8 or 15, and I'll try it for Legacy 3D, and if it does 7G, then I can sell my 9700K. Are you tempted to send it back to Miller in case he can revive it? So that was my stream announcement pick. All the cards. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the last option you have. Okay, I think we're going to get a pass. $48.55. Wow. Getting close. Actually, just beat that dice score. That's worth saving. Okay, so a lot more scaling from the core. I would expect GPU-Z not to show the real clocks. And it doesn't. No, well, okay, I just need to reapply clocks in Riva Tuner. Ah, weird. What's that sound? Maybe the chiller? I don't know. Okay, we're just gonna have to beat that run then, since we didn't get a screenshot. Back down to the benching. Let's see if Logic applied with a reboot actually. Ooh, I think it might have. I see a little bit of blue. Yes, so we have LOD now. Nice. So it was 1,050 and 860, I think. Let's go 875. Let's be let's be greedy. So we've got LOD. Okay, let's just give it a run. Okay, so the sound, I don't know if the sound is still there, let me know, but I don't really know exactly what you're referring to. There's a bit of a desync between the chat and reality, let's say, anyway, so that's hard for me to kind of figure out what exactly that was. For the monitor, yes, I have a 240 hertz Acer, but obviously the old cards don't support high refresh rate on digital. They do actually on analog. So I do have a Dell CRT that does like 100 plus hertz, which would actually be optimal here, I think, since we're at high FPS in GT1. GT1 would get a boost from going analog, but then of course I wouldn't be able to capture it. But yeah, on the new stuff, sort of like GTX 900 series especially, and 700 series, you know, that kind of age and newer, 240 hertz is really good in 03. I haven't really extensively tested it in 01 and 05. I know it can sometimes help in Heaven. Leave GPU Z open. Maybe, yeah. So if the theory is that opening GPU Z actually drops the clocks, then that could potentially help. Opening GPU Z first, then Riva Tuner, applying clocks, then applying volts, and keeping all three open. Yeah. Using, yeah, I think that's right. I think that's what's going on. Using VGA, I don't have a VGA capture card, but Truthman from Overclocking TV did offer me one that he's sort of home built, or somebody he knows home built for him, which does an actual perfect duplication of a VGA signal stream, and then you run VGA to your monitor, which is kind of an issue for me because my main benching monitor doesn't have VGA, so I'd have to like swap some monitors around and stuff, but it's doable. and then the second copy you run straight into a capture card, and I think he was going to sell me a VGA capture card along with that. So that has a few benefits, obviously, because your benching monitor output is not a pass-through from your capture card. You have less issues with it disappearing when the capture card light crashes or whatever. So you will always have at least one monitor output working, either through the capture card and on your OBS, or just the real output. And then also because the signal gets split before it's captured, with the really high FPS old stuff, you actually have a performance penalty by capturing it. And so if basically, I think basically the theory goes that since you're sort of passively duplicating the signal, that's not then in the signal chain, let's say, and the graphics card sort of directly outputs to the monitor, and then that doesn't add that extra latency. But I don't know how true that is. Chief says that's how it works, but I don't know. Yeah, overlay.live. It's quite expensive and it's a subscription model. So maybe is the answer there. 48,690. I don't know if that's faster or not, but clocks actually dropped with the display driver reset due to the resolution change. Okay. It doesn't want to apply clocks at all with GPU Z open. So that applies fine. No, I dropped it to 1050 because I didn't see much scaling above 1050. Right. How are we going to do this? We need GPU Z for it to be Hyperbot legal. No, so what did this guy on the front page do? Because my thinking is, I don't think it's specified anywhere that GPU Z has to show real clocks, because there's boosts and everything in the new generation of cards. I think you just have to sub with the right frequencies specified in your submission, and you need GPU Z for GPU identification purposes. But this guy on the front page, he does the same thing, right? He just clocks aren't shown correctly, but he just has the Riva tuner open, so that's what I'm going to do. So we've Riva tuner showing clocks. We can actually close monitoring because that's not adding any information. We need our details, and then 2 CPU Z windows, and then we actually have a run after I don't know how many hours. But I'm running out of space. Okay, so we can do this. I'd like to show volts if possible. That's really starting to push it. Let's just squeeze it on in there. And of course it's reset, but I can just set the... Yeah, I can just set the slider to what I know it was set to. Okay, so that looks good. And that's 48,690. Okay, after all the tech issues, I'm happy with that. So we had a lot in that in there. Next we need priority, affinity, and well, I'm going to test D3D overrider separately. Apply volts. Well, all of this will reset with the res reset, won't it? So let's go back down to benchmark res. Where's our Riva tuner monitoring? That's applied. No. We're a few megahertz short though. I don't like that. If anything, I want to be a few megahertz ahead if possible. Okay, maybe that was just what it was always setting. Let's keep Riva tuner open. Voltage should be applied. Close this. D3D overrider. Force VSync, application detection high. Those are the settings. So no force VSync off, of course. And now let's do priority real time affinity on the last 2 cores. Okay, so maybe a summary. So you see on the, you just saw on the, you can see it here too, but you can see a slight blurriness there, especially on the wings. That's LOD, or level of detail. So I'll just do a recap of everything I just did. LOD we had on the previous run, but I'll just explain it now. Level of detail basically just reduces the texture detail, and it's for a long time in some benches it was undetectable, so, and it gives you a higher score. So HardwareBot, because there was no way of detecting it, decided to make level of detail, or aka LOD, HardwareBot legal, so that that levels the playing field again, because then people who were unsure about it, hey Obscure, how are you doing? People who were unsure about LOD and didn't dare to sub it, kind of got the go ahead to apply it. So I think the principle there is pretty simple. You have a graphics card doing a workload. The workload includes rendering textures, and that's heavy on the card. And if you reduce the level of detail so the textures are more easily rendered, then you get a higher score, higher FPS. Yeah, yes. I'll get back to that. So that's LOD. Benchmark resolution. Why do I run the benchmark with desktop resolution set to benchmark resolution? It can give you a little bit of a performance uptick because basically at the start of a graphics test, the card has to go from the lower power state to the higher power state, and it also has to switch resolution. So there's sort of a little part at the beginning where the card isn't like fully ramped up yet and fully churning out as many FPS as it possibly can, and you want that time to be ideally 0. So on the newer cards with ThermSpy, you can actually force the higher power state, and I'm sure with BIOS modding I could possibly do it here too, but of course that makes it more tricky to apply frequency, because you're then constantly set to the higher frequency, so you might have more crashes on the desktop and stuff. But basically the principle involved there is that the card has to do as little work as possible to transition from the state of being on the desktop to the state of being fully in 3D mode. So that's why I apply the benchmark resolution and bit depth, but you know, that's always 32-bit, and refresh rate, but that should always be 60 in this case on this card. So that's why I go to benchmark res. So that's LOD and benchmark res covered. I also applied affinity and priority. Priority, I think, is a kind of self-explanatory in a way. The normal priority set for a process in Windows is normal, and you usually have, I think, above normal, or like, sorry, it's like high, very high, and real time. So since I really don't give a crap about anything else running on the system while the benchmark is active, I literally just need the graphics driver, the graphics subsystem to be on, and the bench itself. And since 3D Mark 03 is a single threaded bench, I can literally just go into the task manager and tell it to give that one thread real-time priority. So it doesn't always help, but it always gives you a little bit, because it's just telling the operating system, hey, this thing that I'm running here, it's not just a browser or something just meaningless. It is literally the only thing that I'm interested in. So I think that makes sense, right? Affinity is maybe a slightly more sort of obscure concept. Affinity is, you know, you have a number of cores in your system, and usually the operating system is given full freedom over where to schedule those threads, and actually to move around the threads as well. On XP, it's probably less of a hot topic than on Windows 7, but you basically don't want the 3D Mark 03 or any 3D Mark thread to bounce around the cores during the bench for a couple of different reasons. So if you were on the edge for with CPU overclocking, then you could be in a situation where one core is just about a good enough bin to run the bench through the entirety of the bench, and another core may just be, you know, you might have a core that does 7G and another core that does 695. So that's why you want to sort of core bin and set the affinity to the core that's best. But it also, there's a performance penalty to moving a thread around to different cores. Obviously, then the OS has to do a little bit of work to associate the memory of that thread to another core, and there's a few background tasks that have to be done, so you actually don't want the thread to move around at all. But this is where there's maybe differing opinions. I actually set the affinity to 2 different cores, because I realized that, especially on Windows 7, the OS will periodically reassign the thread to a different core anyway, no matter what you set the affinity to. So there you want to have a control on what the second core is that your thread will move to. So you kind of want adjacent cores. And that's why I only have 3 cores enabled and hyperthreading off. Obviously, hyperthreading has a performance penalty, and I don't need those threads. But 3 is a good number because typically your OS will run on core 0. So essentially what I'm saying is use every core. I enable the exact number of cores I need, and then I need only 2 cores, but since core 0 is usually used for the OS, I enable an extra core, so I need 2 cores plus core 0 for the OS. So I then set affinity away from core 0. So actually that's the more important step. Rather than sort of confining the thread to a particular core, which you can't really do anyway because the OS kind of has its own mind, you actually want to move it away from core 0 as much as possible. And on bigger chips, you also kind of want the second core that you use for affinity to be adjacent to the core that you want to be your main core. All right, hopefully that wasn't too complicated. The very last tweak was D3D Overrider, which is this utility, which forces triple buffering. And I think this only really works when your FPS are like in over 1,000. When your card is, so really just GT3, GT1 in this case, where we are at 1,200 FPS. So there the idea is, okay, the graphics card is basically almost like an open pipe. It's just churning out so many FPS that you want to sort of tweak the way in which it is churning out FPS. And I don't really know what triple buffering does, but it basically just allows you to more freely churn out FPS. Okay, enough about that. 49060. Let's go up in core. Let's maybe just do a quick screen grab. And let's open our monitoring up again. So those tweaks gave me all total, all taken together, gave me I was on 48690. I think that's right, yeah, with the same clock. So they gave me 48690, they gave me about 400 points, so that's huge. Okay, so monitoring, our clocks are still good. Let's open up this. Let's go for a nice flat 900. Or maybe just a little bit above, yeah. And just, oof, that's a hang. Yeah, so obscure, yeah. I suppose my accent has been mangled now, but I was born in Germany, but I grew up in Ireland, and that's also my family moved to Ireland when I was young, so I didn't speak any English. So I learned my English in Ireland when I was growing up there. So that's why I have that accent. But now I've been living in Australia for 5 years, so it's probably some Aussie twang also creeping in there. Okay, let's restart all of our tweaks, which is just D3D Overrider really. Have you been doing any, what brought me to Aussie? Okay, that's another long story. So let me just start a run first. Hold on. Memory first. Hopefully no crash this time. Okay, that was a weird crash. Oof. How are we going to solve this riddle? Hold on, I can apply volts first, can't I? Yeah. Yeah, so when I finished university in Ireland, I didn't particularly want to go anywhere, but the economy wasn't doing so well. So I applied for a job in Germany and moved back to Germany after, almost 20 years. And I liked my job, but I didn't like living there. Okay. So I decided to make another move to Australia. But there's more to that story. I'll just get a run started first. 1.3. Maybe the clocks are just too high, but obviously since the issue is applying core clocks, let's do it with core volts also in place. That does make sense, doesn't it? Let's just keep all the tools open. D3D overrider. Let's start it with Windows actually. Oof. Interesting hangs going on. I don't really know what that is. This guy who was running 1.4 volts. I was on single stage though. Okay, let's give it 1.325. So yeah, I came to Aussie because the company I'm currently still working for have an office here, and I just wanted to get out of Germany after 4 years. Not really enjoying the lifestyle, and it was basically the Aussie office or the US office, so I decided to come here just for fun. Okay. Rush, I'll come back to your question. I'll just again try and get a run out. I don't want to blow this goddamn VRM, but okay, 1.35, and that is the end of that. Okay, don't let me apply any more than that. Let's just keep it open. Riva tuner monitoring first. That's how it likes to have its windows opened. Okay. No, I just keep getting hangs. Okay. Let's go back to 1.3 and let's just go a step or two lower. So let's go the step that's just under 900. Maybe there's just some sort of weird hard limit there because the volts didn't do anything. Maybe I'm running out of thermal headroom or something. So my degree was electronic engineering. Okay. So yeah, the 897 step might be a little bit more stable. Or maybe I just need to go on without D3D overrider. No, that's looking better. I can just go for a run, can't I? Let's be consistent with our tweaks and just always apply them from now on. This might crash pretty early. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So we're running into a pretty hard limit there. Well, I have pretty bad paste on here as well, so I could repaste, you know, turn the chiller down a little bit more and stuff. I have options, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily try and clock higher now. I would just move on to another bench maybe. Okay. So this run was at 874. Let's just do 885 maybe. Yeah, 885. Keep it open. D3D overrider. And just a few little tweaks. Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I did computer engineering, which is a mix of electronic engineering, which is what you would typically typically study if you wanted to go into semiconductor design. I mean, very few people make it. Yeah, I think we're at the limit. We're literally at the limit. So yeah, computer engineering is a mix between what is it called? Computer science, so programming, and electronic engineering. So I thought that was a good degree to do. Not too much theory, a little bit of coding, a little bit of hardware. Let's try 1075 again. And it was literally, ooh, 875, 874. And just past an hour streaming without a reboot. That's nice. I mean, I know what it is now. It's, you know, there's tons and tons and tons of options on how to get the temps down. Just caught me by surprise. I'll certainly try and minimize the vCore. I'll certainly, I don't know, maybe have a look to see. No, I mean, CPU load is quite low. I can't really minimize CPU load, but I can maybe mess around with this vCore, keep the fan on high, repaste, you know, work with mounting pressure a little bit, but that's tricky because this board already has a slightly warped socket and it won't post if you have too much mounting pressure. Okay, so for the people on stream who weren't on the last stream, oh well, this is annoying. I can never get rid of this weird sidebar. There we go. So this is what I've been working on. I think there's even a command for it now. There we go, there's the list. So as I was having a look through all my graphics cards and labeling them, testing them a bit, you know, cleaning them up, you know, putting them into these, I think 50-liter boxes. I should post some pictures of them. I think I have 3 or 4 50-liter boxes full of GPUs now. I was thinking about how I don't really bench enough 3D. I mean, the last 2 or 3 streams have been 3D, but in general, I tend to like, you know, AMD 2D. I thought it was an opportunity to start like a series of streams, and the general idea is it will alternate. It will start with the oldest GPUs. It will be all PCIe, so no AGP. The aim is to actually run every single card on this exact motherboard and chip and RAM, so that keeps it simple. And we have a GT2 hang. Let's reboot. This exact rig, I'll be running PCIe cards, so that's starting in 2004, and I'll be running them, I think, in order of, I think it actually works out that AMD in every single calendar year actually released cards before NVIDIA, which means if I run them in release order, if I stream the cards in release order, it will go ATI, NVIDIA. So let's say the 2004 ATI card, then the 2004 NVIDIA card, 2015 ATI card, 2005 ATI card, 2005 NVIDIA card, and so on. So, and it's just to keep it all fair, it's alternating between the both vendors. It's and the same number of streams from both vendors. So I think it's 9 cards each. And this is the list. It might still change, but this is what I'm thinking of. I haven't decided which benches I'm going to do yet. Let's just do a rerun. So let's apply clocks, or volts rather. And now clocks. So I didn't like 1075.